Today we will tell about the legend of the North American Santa and the Dutch Sinterklaas. Is Santa living on the North Pole or in Rovaniemi in Finland? Or how the people in Finland name it, Ravensjark. And who is the Dutch Sinterklaas? Well, at the end of this episode you will know. And then we will have a chat about this happy nibbler. His jaws never stand still, he can climb downwards, and with his head down and his acrobatic moves are always fun to watch. So I could not resist to make a painting of this tree-jumping acrobat. My name is Michael Schutte and thank you for watching Painting the Island. It's almost the end of the year, and as we are always dreaming of a white Christmas, except when we need to drive on the road of course, I thought it would be great to make a snowy portrait of this happy dude. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome in my studio. Today we're gonna paint a squirrel eating his breakfast in the snow, the poor thing. But snow belongs to Christmas and Christmas belongs to snow. So let's pick up the brushes and at work. In this painting we're gonna create a cold environment for our little friend. We can do this by mixing ultramarine blue and burnt umber and then add some titanium white and see how it turns out. I always teach my students to make 3 tones of a color, any color, like dark, middle and light gray. And how you do that? Well, you first mix the main tones, in this case ultramarine and burnt umber, like I said before, and then we adding slowly some titanium white, and we start with a dark one, not too much. Then you take something off, add a little bit more titanium white, and for the lightest one you take titanium white and do a tiny bit of the mixed color through the white. It's very simple. And before we start the painting we should always ask ourselves, where is the light coming from? And in this case we let it come from the left. That means we give the background of the head more dark to create contrast. If we paint a lot of highlight on the head, it will come loose of the background and that is what we want. But first of all, we have to continue covering the great big white background. Like the Dutch masters, we always work from the back to the front. But first of all, we keep covering and we make lots of different tones, or we use different tones, and as this is a forest in the distance we play with light and dark, and later we will add more branches, trees, branches or whatever we need. For this purpose we use a big filbert brush and let the brush play with light and dark, and if we paint on a virgin canvas we have to scrub the surfaces. And a cool technique is holding the brush like a drumstick, like I do. I scrub it into the canvas or cotton. It will cover better and you create a vivid surface right away. We let the background dry and maybe later I will give it another layer with a bit more bluish tones. I find it still too warm, but we shall see. First, we gonna make a ground layer for the tree trunk. We can use burnt sienna and black and build it up with a small filbert brush. We push the bristles down and don't really mix it. I just dip the brush first in black, then in the burnt sienna and even maybe in a gray middle tone. So with 3 colors on the brush I push it into the canvas. This old tree trunk hangs a bit sideways, so we follow the direction of the wood with the brush strokes. And oh yes, before I forget I have to tell you this. In my new studio, I use more lights, so we have a brighter view on the screen. But in the beginning, when the paint is still wet, we have a bit of glitter in the wet surface, but later it will disappear. With a knife, we can scratch a few indents in the trunk. A little roll of paint on the edge will do, and with 3 fingers holding it, we let it run freely over the wet surface. And this is how you create a rough bark. Later, we will decorate it with snow. Let's work on the ground layer of the squirrel. Before we do the hairy stuff, we need to make a ground layer, otherwise it just doesn't work. We start with the eye and make it just plain black, no reflections, nothing yet. Then, very carefully, we will give the eye a ring of light ochre and gray, and we use a small little round brush. And then with this combination, we can cover his head, mouth and neck. And yes, it can be frustrating as it looks a bit weird. But we have to accept that this is only the basic layer. Actually, you could do it with a bunch of grays too, just working away the white surface. But this is a good exercise in preparing the squirrel. Actually, this is drawing with paint. You will meet every little corner of his body and keep in mind where the problem corners are. Yes, every painting has its own difficult parts. And now you are prepared when we do the real thing. Very important, I rest my hands on my palette stick to take the pressure away. When I presented the stick to my students, they want to kill me first, because they just didn't like it. But after a while they get used to it and now they really appreciate it. In the beginning, everything is always difficult. Okay, we have to blend in the brush strokes with a short blender brush. Very light, no pressure. In the meantime, I keep going, bringing in all the hairs with my upwards brush strokes. We keep changing the tones with light and dark. First the dark, then the light. In his hands, he needs probably a nut, and he's really enjoying it, probably his lunch, but this will come later. Let's go a bit more over the body. And it's very hard to say do this color or do that color. You have to see what's working for you. Even in a small little animal like this, there is a wide range of colors. And like I said before, nature is the biggest artist. First, we give our little fellow a fresh nut to chew on. If I watch these guys, I have the impression that they eat all day. Those jaws seem to never stop chewing, but I guess that is their way to survive. With a darker tone gray and burnt sienna, we paint the fingers and we use a small round brush for that. It's a bit tedious work, but it will work out all fine. On top of the left arm, we can use a darker ochre tone, and later we will work out more tiny hairs. Now don't forget to use the blender, so now and then this wonderful brush will blend the fur in and make it ready for the next layer of fine little hairs. And after all this very precise work, we can start covering his body with a gray tone and an ochre tone. Not really mixed, but I use 2 colors on the brush and that works great. And then it's time for the tail. With a dark tone of burnt sienna and maybe a bit of black, we can start painting the lower part, the shadow part of the tail. First we go dark, and with some ochre and gray tones we can bring in the lighter hairs. Then it's time for the tail. We do this with a dark tone of burnt sienna and maybe a little bit of black, and then we start painting the lower or the shadow part of the tail. First we go dark, and with some ochre and grey we bring in the lighter hairs. I think it's time for a little break because I have an interesting story for you. Let's talk about Santa and the Dutch Sinterklaas. Probably it's a mix of the British Father Christmas, but also the German Knecht Rupert und Pelz Martel. That's how you pronounce it. In 1809, Washington Irving wrote a story of New York and talked about Santa Claus, a poem, a visit from St. Nicholas of 1823. And this was the big break of Santa Claus with reindeer and sleigh. And to make it more confusing, in Finland they call him Julipuki. In French it's Père Noël, and in Spain Papa Noël. And then there is the big question, who named all the reindeer? Well, in the same poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, of the poet Clement Clarke, we find names Dasher, Dancer, Prancer and Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. And yes, in 1939, Robert L. May came up with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, first sang by Gene Autry. So he is officially the 9th reindeer. And then there's the question, where does he live? The Americans think Santa Claus lives on the North Pole. But in Europe, they think he lives in Rovaniemi in Finland. Well, it's both cold and snowy. The Danish, however, think he lives in Greenland. Yes, it's complicated. To make it all more confusing, let's talk about our Dutch Sinterklaas. He has his own secrets too. His name was Nicolaas of Myra, and he lived around 270 till about 337, and he died on the date December 6. And this is the magic. And yes, it is a magic date because on December 5 all the kids in Europe put their shoe in the evening and expect that it will be filled with presents the next morning. Let me first tell you a little bit more about Nicolaas of Myra. By the way, it lies in Turkey. The legend tells about miracles. He brought life back to 3 dying kids, sent grain to poor people all over in Turkey, saved a ship in a storm, and more of these fantastic stories. Yes, the man was really beloved and declared holy after his death. Now, from the 13th century, the honoring of St. Nicolaas of Myra was spread all over Europe, which was conquered by Spain. And during the 80-year war between Spain and Holland, maybe another monk or more monks came to Holland and felt pity with the poor kids and gave them food, candy and toys on December 5. Actually, nobody knows exactly how it is, but like I said, it is a legend. On Tres Reyes Magos, or 3 kings, kids in Spain put their shoes in the living room, like I told you before, hoping it was filled with presents the next morning. And thanks to a Dutch teacher who wrote, "See, there is the steamboat coming out of Spain." Yes, that's how the song goes. Every Dutchman is convinced that St. Nicholas comes from Spain. Which is not the truth, but what does it matter? So Sinterklaas comes every year with his horse Amerigo, with his servants in Holland, on the 5th of December, spreading fun and joy for the Dutch kids. And on Christmas, the Dutch do it all over again with the American Santa for 2 Christmas days. Yes, we have 2 Christmas days, a first and a second. Aren't we spoiled? So now you know everything about the legend of St. Nicholas and Santa. Yes, I know it's a confusing story, but at the end we get the presents anyway. So that is good. In the meantime, we made the tale dark and let it dry. And sorry again for the glittering of the studio lamps. I try to adjust them as good as I can in my new studio, but I'm still searching for the right solution. We put some more light and dark on and around the nose and eyes. It's always important that we create contrasts with light and dark. Give the nut a bit more color, make it just darker and a bit of light with gray. Bring in more color on his sleeves also. First the dark tones, which is actually in dark gray, and over that we paint the lighter tones, which is a combination sometimes of ochres and grays. Actually, all the colors we use are ochre tones and grays. If we make 3 of each, like the dark, middle and light tones, we can improvise in between them. It's very handy, really. And if you ever get stuck, you are always welcome in our new lesson center, and I will explain it to you. And while I'm busy painting all the furs and stuff, let me explain a bit about squirrels. This guy has a huge family. There are 285 species to be exact. So yes, the Christmas dinner will be crowded. And they are everywhere. From the Americas to Eurasia and Africa, and in Canada we find 23 species. And 2 of them can even fly. Or let's call it falling with style in Pixar terms. Other members of the family are marmots, prairie dogs, chipmunks, ground squirrels, tree squirrels, and they are closely related to mountain beavers and dormice, one happy family. As they are able to store food, squirrels don't hibernate to get through the winter, on the average, but some do. And we have a squirrel in our garden, and I see him hiding pindas everywhere. So if he forgets these hideaways, then we probably have a pinda forest coming up this spring. We shall see. And every morning we see all these squirrels playing with each other or chasing their big brothers or sisters. Actually, in the squirrel world, the girls search each year a new guy. How is that? Yes, girl power. After the party, the girls kick the guys out and take care of the kids. Wise decision. So it's the other way around in the squirrel world. They always have to be careful because foxes, wolves, coyotes, bears, raccoons, cougars, weasels, cats and dogs, snakes and birds of prey die for a nice squirrel snack. In the meantime, we bring in more lighter hairs and blend it out with a soft blender brush, but not too much. These blenders work great and make the fur more natural. On the belly, it gets more light also, but bring in some ochre tones too. It gives a nice glow on the fur. Now for the rear legs, we can do the same. We start with dark and paint the lighter hairs over it. Remember the golden rule from the painters: without dark there is no light, and without light there is no dark. Let's take a little break and relax for the next Christmas story. Yes, it's Christmas time again, and here in the far north it's pretty cold. Now let's find Santa.
Hi, little Jimmy. What is St. Luke? Don't we have a nice picnic?
Yes, Mom. But on Earth, they have Santa. Why is he never coming to our planet? I miss him.
You know what? I have a good idea. You hop into the blue spin with our home robot R3 and ask for Santa yourself. What do you think?
Thank you, Mom. R3, let's go. Right away.
Okay, Jimmy. We check the engines and let's go.
Uh-oh, here comes trouble. This is gonna be a disaster. Mark my words.
Okay, R3, first time warp. Now. Audrey, get us out of here now. Not good, not good. Oh, Audrey, what are you doing? You get us killed. Ooh, wrong time schedule, Audrey. Away here.
This must be the house of Santa. Oops, it's slippery here. Now let's hope he's home, otherwise we made the whole trip for nothing. Yes, it's freezing cold here, but so beautiful. Oops, what a noise. Ah, I'm slipping. What was that?
Hi, Traveler. Long time no see. What happened? Once there a spaceship.
Good to see you, Santa. Let's get rid of that snow. I have no idea. Now, it must be there, dove right into the snow. Let's check this out.
Be careful, Traveler. You never know what comes right out of space. Let's take a look.
Okay, not a perfect landing, I admit, but we are in Santa's garden, right?
Audrey, you wrecked our ship. Oh, Santa, I'm so glad to see you. Hi, Traveler, how are you?
Hi, Jimmy. Long time no see. How is it on your planet?
Oh, Santa, you have to come with us. Otherwise, there will be no Christmas on our planet. All the kids will be crying. Please.
Jimmy, I cannot live here. There are so many kids waiting for their toys.
No worries, Santa. We let the time come to a halt here on Earth. Just like this. And when we're back, it will go on like usual.
Okay, if you're sure, I will go with you, but how your machine won't fly anymore.
Santa, I have a surprise for you. Step into our magic rack, and while we are away, our tree will repair it. Take you back with presents with you. You will need it.
Well, if you say so. Ooh, inside, this ship looks pretty different. Are you sure this is all safe?
No worries, Santa. It's perfectly safe. I told you this is a magic ship. You're gonna make a voyage of 10 billion kilometers in 2 seconds, and my mother will be there to catch you up. Here you go.
Santa, you are here, finally. Oh, look who's waiting for you.
Oh, what a crowd. This is gonna take forever. Come and get it, kids. Ho, ho, ho.
Santa, you are back. How did it go?
Oh, it was amazing. One big Christmas party. I left a huge present for you, Jimmy, and I saw all your brothers and sisters and greetings from your mama.
Good to hear, Santa. Time for us to fly back. Our tree repaired the ship, so we're good to go. Thank you so much. And oh, let me turn on time again. There. Everything is back to normal. Bye, everybody.
Ooh, what happened? I feel so empty in my head.
Oh, Traveler, I will explain this to you later. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, the same to you, and with a little less headache if possible. By now you know I love to do some animation, and I couldn't resist to make a lovely little Christmas story. I hope you liked it, and let's move on with the painting. Now let's do a bit more light on his back. Below we start with more dark, at his knee a bit more light grey, and maybe even a tiny bit of the ochre tone too. On his back he needs more light for sure. And yes, it can be a tedious work, blending in, paint it again, blend it in, but at the end you will be rewarded with a nice soft fur. So we keep on painting very small little hairs. And yes, it's an eeny-meeny animal, so if you get impatient, you might be tempted to make big brushstrokes, but don't do that. Small little moves will do it, and will create a natural looking fur. On 3/4 of his back we can paint with a light grey a kind of highlight, and this will give the impression that the back is really round. Let's do a few hairs down below so he can shut his butt off for incoming cold, and then we can start finally at the tail. And this tail is his most important instrument. It protects his back. He uses it as an umbrella, but for the balance it's even more important. He uses this tail as a kind of fifth element. Maybe a fifth leg or hand or whatever you can call it, but he uses it a lot. We start with a dark tone like burnt sienna with some black and work our way up with lighter hairs. We push the bristles upwards with almost no pressure, and we already have a good background where we can play in with different tones. First we will give it some warmth, and then slowly we're gonna add greys and ochre tones when we go upwards. But we do it slowly. We make a gradient upwards to the light. And like I said before, we push the bristles upwards and go slow. Just small little hairs will make it all nice. Nice and natural, I should say. At the top of the tail it is really light, and for that we can use the lightest ochre tones and greys for this. Just mix it with titanium white. The sun in this freezing landscape is striking the upper part of his tail, and it will give the squirrel that special look. It is something what you don't expect, and that makes this painting special. At the very top we do the lightest tones, and don't forget to blend it in again and again. This will staple the layers in a very special way. The more layers the better. Sometimes I give a painting like this 6 or 7 layers. I think it's almost done. I think we have light hairs enough, and we always can go back into it later. There is enough light, and maybe we should start decorating the tree trunk with some fantastic snow effects. And for the cold feeling we can mix phthalo blue and titanium white. We mix 3 or 4 tones and start with the darkest tone in between all those pieces of the trunk. We use a very small round brush and up we go, or more down we go. Nothing special. We let the paint dripping down the tree trunk, and upon the darker layers we can go on and bring some light too. In the shadow we keep it dark, and we use a bit more blue and maybe a tiny bit of dark bluish grey. It is indeed very hard to say use this or that color. You have to improvise a bit and see what you like most. Playing with light and dark, however, is the most important part. Always ask yourself, where is the light coming from? And even more important, where is the shadow? It's really fun to see how the snow works its way through all the narrow indents of the wood. Let's take a little break. Before we say goodbye, I would like to show you our Academy of Music and Art in Qualicum Beach. I teach there music and art, and my wife Els card making and scrapbooking. I would love to show you my paintings just to get some inspiration, and I understand that for a lot of you Qualicum Beach is not next door, but if you happen to be on Vancouver Island, just hop in for a chat and take a look around. And of course you are always welcome if you need some advice about materials, maybe color mixing, or whatever you want to know about art and music. My sweet wife Els is a magician with paper, and she shows a great selection of scrapbooking and paper art. And don't forget that we offer a wide range of courses in music, painting, scrapbooking and card making. Yes, there is a whole new world, a whole new creative world for you right at your fingertips. Our steady viewers might know by now that I love to support the North Island Wildlife Recovery Center in Arrington with my paintings. This place, founded by Sylvia and Robin Campbell, is a lovely retreat for wounded birds and other animals who need recovery and help. Also a lovely place for inspiration. So if you ever visit the island, take a look in the center and admire all the wonders of nature. Enjoy! Yes, in spring we will be there for sure to shoot some new footage. The last 3 years we had no time at all to do anything but working in the store. On top of the snow, we can do a highlight, and this will finish it off. This will complete the picture of the snow and give it more depth. So actually, we always have to think in 1, 2, 3, or dark, light, and highlight. And we can decorate the tree trunk as much as we can. There is no limit. We just let the snow dripping down over the wood. It is following the indents like dripping water. Yes, this is very relaxing work. No stress, just take it easy and enjoy. That is even the most important part of painting. You create your own little peaceful world. No AI, no difficult things. It's done by you. And if you wait long enough, you are one of the few people who can create original artwork, not made by a manipulated computer. It's just you. How cool is that? Yes, every painter needs a pep talk so now and then. And in fact, it's a lonely trade. You sit alone in your room staring at the blank canvas, torturing yourself with the question, what the heck shall I paint this time? And if you experience this painter's block, put up soft music, start searching Google for some cool ideas and see what other painters did before you. It gives a lot of inspiration, and after a while you will find something to paint. Or try this squirrel. It's a cute object to paint. We're gonna dig in the trunk with snow. Start with dark blue-gray and sweep it into the lower indents like the wind can do. Round the corners we can put up lights, and it might be fun to paint some snowy grasses and branches around the trunk. Let's put up a bit more light here and there, but we don't want to overdo it. Just where it's necessary. And yes, the blender brush does the magic for you. With a highlight tone, we can bring in some fantastic effects. But think before you do. With a very small round brush, we can start painting some beautiful little branches around the tree trunk. We can do little grasses and so forth. Take care that they all are different. Some with a soft gray tone and some with a more powerful light. And I said it before in other episodes, evenness is your biggest enemy. Always think in uneven sizes, numbers, and so forth. We hardly push the brush, just let it flow over the surface, and it will do a wonderful job for you. A so-called fine liner will work great. Here and there a darker branch might work fine too. And it might not hurt to put painting away for a couple of days and don't look at it. Then, with a fresh eye, you will notice things you didn't see before. And some painters, like me, look at the painting with a hand mirror. This will give you a complete, fresh look at your painting. And you will discover little mistakes you didn't notice before. Just try it yourself and you will see what I mean. It's also a very good system to check your composition. Okay, let's do a few more snowflakes on the tail and we might say we created a cool painting. Enjoy! Our little friend is having fun in the snow. Check out the website for the latest news. Till the next time and keep on painting!